One of our favourite webinars that we do here is kindly sponsored by Job Adder, so thank you to Job Adder. We're also live over on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. We're everywhere. But if you want the full experience, come here to Crowdcast, grab the link from where you are, and you can interact with the coaches here as well. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym. This is number 72. We've had 104 different coaches. We've got 2 newbies today that I'll get to introduce themselves in a moment. We've got 6 pre-asked questions. So if you're interested in those, great. Feel free to add another one if you'd like to, and we can answer it. We will. I'm going to come to you, Sarah, first and foremost, as you've been here a few times before, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. I'm Sarah J Naylor, and I'm the midlife success coach, and I help midlife entrepreneurs and business people rediscover their talents and passions, personally and professionally, and help them put a bit of sass in their ass and make their midlife more magical. But just to add, I've got a 36-year career background in recruitment too. Thank you. Lovely to be here.
I heard the ask, but I didn't hear what we were putting in it. What are we doing?
Oh, bit of sass.
Bit of sass in your ass.
Bit of sass in your ass.
Well, that's the theme for today then.
Isn't it?
Go in with that. Tracey, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. So I'm dialing in from Dublin today. So I'm the data consultant, and I work with recruitment businesses, helping them to use their data to grow the business. So I have 12 years practical experience as a recruiter and 12 years as an analytics and insights expert. So I'm seeing it from both sides of the coin.
Oh, I love the analytics. I must admit, that was my favourite bit of the job, crunching all the numbers. So I think we'll get on well, Tracey. Right, Marie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Marie Pegram. I'm managing partner at UHY Hacker Young East, part of a top 20 accountancy firm, and we help ambitious recruitment companies with everything accounts, tax, and growing their business.
Fantastic. So a huge amount of experience, all very varied here. If you don't know me, I've been a recruiter as well. I've been in the industry for over 30 years and run a team of 12 trainers and coaches for the Recruiting Gym. I never introduced myself, and I've just realised that. So from there. Okay, let's get started. We've got 6 pre-asked questions. This year, we've asked the coaches to come along with the one question they're getting asked all the time at the moment. So it's very prevalent and what's happening in the market. And then we curate 3 other questions from our meetings, from our online webinars and training that we do with our courses and conferences and anything else we've been to. So let's get started. I'm going to come to you first, Marie. So let's focus you. And the question is, given the nature, a competitive nature, yeah, we are very competitive, of the recruitment sector, how can we use share option schemes, and how can they help in not just retaining, but also attracting top talent to a firm? So this is something that I actually saw you at the Recruitment Agency Expo talking about, and that's where our connection came in, because when I saw it, I went, you're the person I've been looking for ages, because I've never had anyone that I could go to. So please share.
Thank you, Angela. So I think going back with this, because it is really competitive, and it's actually looking at the motivations behind why people go to work. So there's a piece of research that I'm quite attached to that Dr. David Serolta did on, I think it's about 13.6 million employees across America. And he narrowed it down to why people go to work was a sense of fairness, sense of achievement, and a sense of camaraderie. Mm-hmm. And it's actually looking at that. And when I talk to a lot of recruitment businesses, they're very focused on the financial incentives for their team. So it's what commission scheme can we have? What bonus schemes can we have? How does that work with the numbers and things like that? And when you take it all back, actually, people are looking for more purposeful meaning to their work, being part of the journey of the business, taking it from here to here and actually feeling part of it. And that's where things like share option schemes can come into play. So it's looking at those top stars of your business and thinking, right, how can we incentivize them and actually bring them in as shareholders of the business, eventually, depending on which scheme you go for, and feeling part of it. So there's a couple of schemes that are very popular in the recruitment industry, one being a growth scheme, share option schemes. That's been part of the future growth of the business. If you want to take it from 0 to wherever, and I know recruitment businesses are very ambitious in that area. And another one that's really popular is the EMI scheme, which has loads of tax benefits. But that actually, again, if you've got a future milestone in the business, that brings that employee on to be part of that journey to hit that milestone, because they get a benefit at the end of it. So yeah, hopefully that gives you.
Yeah. Now, just to clarify, if you've got any questions on this, we've got Marie's and everyone's links in the chat here. And if you're on LinkedIn, you'll be able to click on their profiles and connect with them, because you'll probably have some more questions. My immediate one is, as a share option scheme, then the ones that you've just talked about, does that give them a share in the business itself?
Depends on which scheme you go for. So the growth scheme, share scheme that I just referred to, that gives them a share directly. So you'd have a shareholding relationship with that employee, but they're only entitled to benefiting from the growth they're on after. So you ring fenced everything that you've built and put your sweat and blood and tears into that, and you get to ring fence that. An EMI scheme is different because it doesn't actually give them shares. It gives them options once they hit that milestone. So if you want to achieve, I don't know, £1 million EBITDA, for example, once you hit that, they may become a shareholder then. So that's quite a nice scheme, because you don't have to have a shareholder relationship, because that's a very different relationship with that person as when they're an employee.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. I must admit, I'm a little bit distracted. It's like you've got a Disney film behind you.
I know. I realised that when I'd signed on, it was like, oh no, I've got this like massive.
It's beautiful. You've got birds flying. I'm expecting to see, sort of Cinderella or something, or someone walking past.
That's the real sky as well, which is surprising.
And this is beautiful. Whereabouts are you calling in from, Marie?
Hertfordshire.
Oh, okay. I've not got that. I'm Hertfordshire. I've definitely not got that. I'm just grey at the moment. Hopefully it's coming my way. But no, it's fabulous. I love it. I love it. Okay. Sarah, did you have a question?
It wasn't so much of a question, but it was just an observation in terms of what you're talking about, because in the time that I was in recruitment and employed, I think it's such a great incentive, because you're actually feeling more valued. And this is what you were talking about in terms of what you referenced earlier, that is the key, through all my years in recruitment. It is the key. People want to feel valued. And, I'm talking across businesses as a whole, but actually within recruitment, yes, it's great that you get commissions and you get, the bonuses, but actually to feel that extra level of value through a share option scheme, because then you are really invested even further in helping the business grow. And I think it's great. I mean, having been employed, it's been years since I have been employed, but I think it would be something that really resonates with a lot of businesses, to put that into play, especially during how it is now, because it's been a tough year for everybody. But to help grow things moving forward, I think it would be great for businesses to put into play, not just recruitment businesses, but obviously businesses as a whole.
And as a retention tool, it's perfect.
It's the voice side of things as well. So you've got a seat around the table, you've got a voice, you've got you can impact the future of the business depending on what autonomy you can get with these share option schemes. But I think sometimes just having a voice to go, right, this is I've got a really good idea, or I can take the business this way.
No, but being heard. I mean, when you come back around to coaching, I mean, that's the key with coaching, is that when you're working with a client, they are being heard. And if more businesses actually employed that, generally hearing people, because people have ideas and it's not to be dismissed. It might not be the same as what you think, but actually give them time, have a platform. And as you say, if they're performing well, bring them to the table, have a discussion, be heard, feel valued.
Yeah, and value's so critical, isn't it? I mean, I left a recruitment company after 13 years, and that was the main reason. I didn't feel valued. I'd have loved this as a consultant. It would have been perfect. Okay, thank you for that, ladies. I'm going to bring Tracey on, and we're going to look at question 2. So what employee data should I be monitoring to spot any red flags early?
Yeah, absolutely. So it actually leads on from what Marie was just talking about in terms of retention and attrition rates and so on. So I think one of people in recruitment businesses talk a lot about data, and they think about fees, and they think about sales, and they think about clients, but they don't think about their own internal talent acquisition data, so their employee data. So there are some red flags that I would suggest for people to have a look out at. So, I mean, obvious things that we see on a day-to-day, things like decreased productivity, increased absenteeism, if there's sort of dissatisfaction coming back in employee surveys and so on. So they're kind of very visible sort of flags that you might look at. In terms of a data analysis point of view, one thing that is very low tech but very effective that I work with clients on is looking at a performance quadrant. So if you imagine a little plot and you've got activity on one side and fees on the other, you can basically break it into 4. So you've got people with high activity, high fees, leave them alone. You've got people with high activity but low fees, so they're trying hard but they just need a bit of training on conversion, something like that. Those that are high fees and low activity, being honest, are probably your kind of longer tenured people in the business, and they sort of just know what they're doing. And then obviously those that are in your low activity, low fees, they're the people that they're red flags. So you might want to work with them, or you might, want to sort of transition them out of the business. But it's quite easy to, as I say, a very low tech way of kind of looking at grouping your people within the business. Attrition rates, for those that don't know, so an attrition rate is calculated by the number of people you have in your business at the start of the year, the number of people you have in your business at the end of the year, an average of that. So 200 people at the start of the year, 400 people at the end of the year, 300 is your average. And if you have 50 leavers in the year, you're dividing your 50 by 300. So that gives you your attrition rate of 20%. So obviously, from a data perspective, the recruitment industry benchmarks, so I looked at a survey there from APSCO with Safri.com, and what they're saying is that 7% of UK agencies have an attrition rate of more than 40%. So an attrition rate is good. About 10% is kind of general sort of industry standard for all industries. And then the other thing that I read there was 21% of recruiters leave within the first 12 months. So if you think as a recruitment business owner how much you're spending on, training, attracting, training, and then these guys are leaving. So it's definitely things to be keeping an eye on from your own internal data. One thing I would say though is if you know that, attrition rates should be 10%, it's a really good question to ask your clients as a recruiter. So how many people are in your business? What's your attrition rate? And then as a recruiter, well, my client is likely to have, 10 vacancies in the next year. So from a planning perspective and kind of really adding value, which is obviously what we're all about in the recruitment world at the moment, that's really something to be interested in. So I'm going to leave you with probably 2 or 3 interesting ones. So things that increase risk of attrition: if your recruiter hasn't had a salary increase in 2.5 years, if they're more than 4 years in their current position, and if they have had a manager change in the last 180 days. So they're all things that increase risk of attrition. The other big one, which is an obvious one, is probably more than 5 requests for time off in 90 days. If you've probably got to that point, you're kind of losing the battle. But things that decrease risk of attrition then are people with direct reports, people who manage large teams, and obviously people with kind of longer tenure. So they're least likely to leave. So I got all that information from, there's I'll pop a link in, but it's called Bob the Attrition Indicator, and it's one of the large HR packages actually have developed this sort of attrition indicator, I suppose data driven indicator. So it's something that's quite interesting. So that's where I got the information from that. So
that's brilliant. Yes, do share that in there. And I'm guessing then if you could actually sort of put those 3 key indicators that you did to start with and allocate them against all your staff, and straight away you'd be able to say, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? You might not have spotted it generally, everything going on, working, and if we're working away from the office and things like that, but actually by putting those together. I did have a question as well on I'll come to you in a moment, Marie, on the 4-box framework and with the red flags, with the low fees and low activity. Would you recommend having that visual? So you could put the people's faces in the boxes, and as they move, do that and have it as a bit of peer pressure as well?
Personally, I probably wouldn't. That might be a question for Sarah, though, in terms of, the motivational factors and things. I think that's probably a management tool. So leaderboards, I'm a fan of, your top 3, top 5 and so on. But I think something, if it's as critical as, a performance improvement plan, I probably wouldn't have a visual, but that's my personal thought on it.
So you could have the top ones in there, but yeah,
exactly.
Wanting to get into that box. Marie,
exactly.
what would you like to add to this?
I was just going to actually ask Tracey a question, if that's all right. I think that was really interesting, the stats you've quoted there, and one of them that sort of stands out a little bit for me is how people who are not likely to be promoted may leave. And I've noticed in some recruitment businesses that they're adding more layers to their structure because of the younger generation that are coming in that want to progress quicker. But if you add more layers, then you're still progressing at the same rate, but you feel in that sense of achievement of, are you seeing a similar thing at all?
So you're saying people are more likely to leave if there are more layers? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, so that's a counter in terms of if there's more layers, then they're less likely to leave because they're still getting promoted.
More room for progression. Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I do see that. Funny enough, actually, one of the other ones that I hadn't read out is people are less likely to leave if there's more than 4 people in their team with the same job title.
That's interesting.
So, yes, so it's interesting. It's interesting. So yeah, I think again, more room for progression obviously would decrease the risk. That's my intuition, but obviously I haven't run the data on that, so I couldn't say for sure.
I like the fact that if you're responsible for a team, you're less likely to leave. So that loyalty in there and feeling like, yeah, this is my responsibility. So giving people that and that opportunity to work with others, another good way of doing that. Thank you. We got loads in there. Sarah, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just thinking what you were just saying there, Marie. With the different, which you acknowledge the different levels and the different layers. Because I think you say the young people today that they kind of want more faster, quicker because of the whole tech world that we're in. But actually, when you're starting to put these layers in, Angela and I, when we go back, we were 360 recruiters. There wasn't any levels or layers. You'd either did the 360 recruitment role or you went into management, which I didn't actually ever go into. That's another story altogether. But what it does by giving those different layers, which is where the retention comes in, is the fact that you are recognizing and valuing somebody by then sort of taking them up to that next level. And if, whether they would have done that naturally or not, but you're giving that sort of level an increment, a title, a sort of, an increase. It's that reflection that you're doing a good job, it's feeling valued. So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Definitely. Well, we've got some great ideas already on these. So let's click off number 2. Question 3. How can I work out what it is that I want to do and find a job with the right people? This is you all over, isn't it, Sarah? So let's give you that then.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's a question that I've been recently asked by a new client because she's I'll give you a little bit of backstory. Actually, she's, in fact, going back. I originally worked with her husband. She found me, and she's a few years on. She's come to work with me herself, and she's gone into work post having the children, gone back to work, I should say, post having the children. But she's in a job, and she likes elements of the job, but not the culture, and she likes the product, but again, not the culture. But she doesn't really know. She said, "I'm going round and round. I really don't know what I want." And for me, it's spending that time. So as a coach, this is what I will do. But as a person, if you are there, you don't know what you want to do. It's about going inward. And your CV can be a real help in this. If you take that time to really sit down and work with your CV and think about the things that you do in your job, what you like, what you don't like, and sort of prioritize them and really get clear on the elements. It's not about understanding what job title it's going to have, but it's those key elements. If you're a people person, if you'd rather be in a dark broom cupboard, if you'd rather be outdoors, whether you want to be indoors, whether you want to be in a large team, small team, working on your own, what bits? And as you sort of start to process that, it's building up that level. You can say to yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel about, talking to people on a day-to-day basis? Does that sit at 1 and really don't want to do it? Or does it sit towards 10? I was like, I've got to have it in my, I've got to have it. You put me in a dark room with no contact and I'll fade away. And, and that's key for businesses as well, because you may have people within your organization that are perfect for other roles, but they've somehow come in and they're in a role that's not right for them, or don't give them work that they don't want to do, because what's the point? But coming back to you as a person, what is it I want to do? Take time to think about what you've done in the past, what fires you up, what really drives you, what do you love in your personal life? You know, what is it, you know, you really, really enjoy doing? Because there's always going to be a career related to something that you're passionate about, that you drive, whether, you know, you like Marie and Tracey, you like stats and you like data, Angela, you like data, stats and people, you know, there's always going to be something that combines whatever it is that you love into your life. And then it's thinking about the tribe of people that you want to be around, you know, whether you want to be with people that kind of get you, that support you and value you, which is what we've talked about, and staff retention. Because actually, if you're in an environment where people just turn around to you and go, well, that's part of your job description anyway. Hello. And I'm talking about this client actually, because I've just, you know, we just had a long conversation about it. You know, she's doing a job and somebody, she said, oh yeah, I think there was some recognition of what she'd done by somebody else. And the manager turned around and said, well, that's in your job description anyway. It's like, well, yeah, a little bit of validation.
A little bit of praise goes a long way, doesn't it?
Nice. Sorry, Angela.
I say a little bit of praise does go a long way, doesn't it? And a lot of the time it is the culture that's around you, and certainly the manager. We had that on the session this morning, that the highest percentage of people leave because of the manager and the culture that's been created around it. It's not the job necessarily, and it can be a totally different job. We always say that to people in recruitment: don't leave our industry, go and work somewhere else. It could be a totally different job somewhere else.
Absolutely. And this is the case in, you know, in fact, with this new client of mine. It's that she likes the elements of the job, but and she likes the product of the company, but it's the sort of the culture. I mean, she said it's just a really strange culture. And when you've got a manager that sort of speaks to you like that, that's just not, it's not conducive to inspiring somebody to work, because their job of a manager is to be there to support, to encourage, and to encourage you along, and to recognise. And, you know, when, let's face it, you know what it's like to get a compliment. It feels great. And when you get a compliment, it's fabulous to accept it with grace, and it motivates you, because, you know, coming back to the money and the side, you know, talking about sort of incentives and share options and things like that. Do you know what? It's people would rather have less money and feel more valued.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we all want money. I'm not discounting that, but you know, you're not going to want to spend all day at work for massive amounts of money and feeling miserable, because that's really not very good for your soul.
Well, we know in recruitment as well that when you're feeling good and that performance then is there, and you're going to earn more money anyway, because we're in that environment. So it is a lot of the time your mindset and being put in a great environment where you can flourish. So back to your thing, yeah, find a job with the right people. So if you are in a situation, have the discussion. It might be able to change. If you're in a big company, you could work in a different department or with a different manager. But yeah, as you say, take a bit of time, take a step back and think about what is it that you really want. Tracey, what would you like to add?
Yeah, just adding in on that there, I think sometimes we miss the point that we convert our big billers to managers, but we don't actually give them management training or coaching training or leadership training. And we're kind of saying, you're successful here as a biller, therefore you'll be a good manager. And you know, from my recruitment industry experience, I obviously see that doesn't always work. So that's definitely something. I mean, when I was recruiting, I recruited for a long time. I transitioned to be a manager, and I was a very poor manager for a long time. But I got really good training actually from APSCO. So shout out to APSCO about stepping into first line management. And after that, life changed. I was happier, my team were happier. So yeah, it's I think that's a sort of an add-on to the last point there as well.
Oh, yeah, for me. Go on. Yeah,
I was going to say that taking that time to really understand what you want and get clear helps recruiters as well tremendously, because actually if you can go to a recruiter and say, this is me, this is what I've done, this is what I want to do, rather than going to a recruiter and going, well, you know, I don't mind, I'll do anything, because that's not going to help the recruiter, because the recruiter's getting that clear job description from a client. And then when you go to them being really clear and really specific about what it is you want, it resonates. And it's about taking that time, and you invest that time in yourself, get it clear on your CV, have it, have those key areas that you're really interested in as well. When you spent that time on yourself. You know, it reflects back, and you can always buy my book. That'll help. Sorry, that was a bit of a plug there.
No, we're happy with that. Stick the link in there as well.
I put it in there, yeah.
Fabulous. We've also got, we've spoken on our book club with your book as well. So we'll find that link from before.
And there's a course as well, of course.
Of course, yes.
On your recruiting gym.
We've got everything involved. Wonderful. Okay, thank you for that, ladies. I'm just going to check because Charlotte's having a tech issue. So I'm just double checking that there's nothing in there that I need to be aware of. No, we got the links and we've got all the details. Brilliant. Okay, so let's go with that one. So we're coming back to Marie. Let's put you as the focus. What advice would you give to recruitment business owners who are considering setting up the share option scheme but are unsure where to start or how to restructure it? So this was our first introduction. I had a company that wanted it, didn't know how to do it. Literally the same week saw you at the expo on your talk and grabbed you.
Thanks, Angela, and it's actually worked really well for them. But yeah, I think before going into that, you need to take a step back sometimes and understand the clear objectives behind wanting the share option scheme, because quite often when I come across recruitment clients that go, oh, I want an EMI scheme, I hear about EMI scheme, I want one. It's like, well, hang on, is it right for your business? Is it right for the people that you're talking about? Let's talk about those questions first before we dive straight into it. So for me, I would want to understand, if we were to help a recruitment business with the share option schemes, is what's driving the consideration of the share option scheme, which employees are you looking to incentivise, do you have a business plan, what's your future milestones in the business, and what's the motivation of the people that you're looking to incentivise, because you may go, yeah, share option scheme, that will tie them in, I actually don't want it, and it's not going to actually achieve what you want to achieve. So off the back of that, it's then looking at the different options. So there's three pretty popular options, two of which I've mentioned already, which are the very popular options in recruitment. So you've got an EMI scheme, a growth option scheme, and a phantom share option scheme.
Okay, there is sorry, I know we've just had Halloween, but phantom share option scheme. We're going on with that
terrible one. Name. It's such a bad name, but that's what it's called.
All about it.
But with there is some restrictions around each scheme as well, so you'd need to have a look at which one works for you. But just with an EMI scheme, you can't have them as a subsidiary company. You've got to have less than 250 employees and less than 30 million in assets, and it has a lot of tax benefits around it. That's why it's so popular. But they do require a bit of investment in cash from you as a business owner to set them up as well. So you're looking at, advisory fees of, I don't know, 5 to 7k to set them up. So it does require an investment from you guys as well. But yeah, so how an EMI scheme differs is what we mentioned before, was it doesn't actually give you shares into the scheme. It's options to get shares at a future milestone. And then the growth share option scheme is, as I mentioned before, part of future growth. And then the phantom share scheme, which it's got an awful name, is basically a bonus scheme, but it's based on the future value of the business. It's building value in the business, and you get a slice of that pie, but you don't actually have shares in the business.
Okay, because I mean, just the name of it makes me think that's not going to be there.
Yeah, I would call it something different if you're talking to people in the business. But the objective of it is actually bringing people in to look at the business as a whole, rather than I'm billing this, my team are doing this, and that's what I'm focused on. It's actually, right, the whole business, where's the value, and I would like a slice of that pie because I'm going to add value to the business.
So is that like, I'm just trying to think of the retail company that, was it John Lewis that everyone had?
Yeah, that's slightly different. So I'm sorry, I don't know whether you've just heard that, the sandwich van outside has just rocked up. You've just got his spawn outside. Yeah, so what John Lewis have is a completely different. So that's an all employee, like an employee ownership trust. We've actually got a webinar on that next week on the 7th of November. So I haven't actually got a link to hand, so I didn't really think that through. If you're looking at everything on LinkedIn, I can send you a link to that. But that's slightly different. So that's actually turning your business into everyone having shares into the business, which is a completely different model. And we've got quite a few recruitment companies that are going that way. because it's all about collective responsibility. We all want to feel part of this rather than just the odd few people. And it's a great exit strategy actually for business owners as well.
That's good to know. I'm going to clip this bit because there's so many people that always ask me about that, and therefore we can give them some information, and we'll get that link to your webinar as well.
We've also got, sorry, just to say, we've also got an employee ownership trust guide on our website, recruitmentaccountants.com. So have a look at that. That gives you an idea of what it is, and that's, like I said, that's completely different to share option schemes, but it might give you an idea, a bit more information about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We're so invested as recruiters. We do see it as our business, like our piece of it is like our own business. So if we could actually get that for the whole company and everyone working together, maybe then sometimes working against each other, which we know happens as well, then that could be really beneficial. Great, we'll get those links in there. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, really helpful. Okay, question 5 then. So I'm coming back to Tracey. How are recruitment businesses using AI to analyse data? We've had so many webinars on AI and how to use it, and what would be helpful and beneficial. Oh, not sure how that's happened, but there we go, we'll find that. I don't expect you to talk about the AI. Brilliant. But actually, analysing data, I've not had anyone talk about this, utilising AI. So brilliant. Thank you.
And you know what? It's just so new, and people are. I am investigating it. I've been researching it over the past couple of months, and it's just exploding. Everything got to do with ChatGPT and so on. So not many people are asking me about it yet, in terms of analysing their data, but I feel that's going to be coming soon. So I suppose in terms of AI, just to kind of give the broader picture, so I, as I say, come from a data science background as well. So AI is artificial intelligence. So that's everything got to do with artificial intelligence. So that's machine learning, that's automation, robotics, and so on. So the ChatGPT element of it is just kind of one piece. So what I suppose did want to say to people is that automation is a form of AI. So if you've got any automated coding or automated segmentation or anything happening in your database, that's AI, number one. Matching, and most, recruitment CRMs and ATSs have some form of matching, and they've had it for years. So candidates like this, jobs like this, suggest candidates for this job. So just bear in mind that is all in there as well. But what I'm seeing recently, and I've literally been working with 3 clients in the last week, each of them have a different applicant tracking system. All of them have some form of AI assist, and that's within their applicant tracking system. Normally, as you say, Angela, it's for summarizing word documents and that kind of thing. So it's creating a job description or summarizing sort of people's experience, that kind of thing. But it is very much, that is active and live. A lot of, as I said, the players have some sort of AI assist in there at the moment. But I think what's coming next then is the sort of AI for data analysis. So as always, though, you need to know what the right questions to ask are. So a lot of the work that I do in terms of, working with people and training people is around data literacy. So what are the questions that I should be asking? So things like, based on past performance, which companies are most likely to hire in the next 12 months? Which jobs are most likely to place? Do we have a ranking to say, we can, from a data perspective, say here are A jobs, B jobs, C jobs, let's say, because all jobs are not equal, as we know. We don't want to work all jobs necessarily, but even things like emerging trends. So which job titles are emerging, or vice versa, which are declining. And then one of my personal favorites is looking at bit of technical speak here, histograms, but basically what a histogram will say is what is your most popular, let's say, fee percentage. So people will go, oh, I have an average of 15%.
Yeah, no, it's
they don't realise. Yeah, so what they don't
realise. Is it mean or medium?
We've got a bunch down here at 10%, and we've got a bunch up here at 25%. So, in terms of those are the questions that you can ask. So, just kind of thinking about things you can ask of your data. But then there are the watch outs, and no matter how much AI you have, I'm still coming in saying, well, what's the quality of your data? What, where's the missing data? What's your coding like? Now, coding and data quality can be helped with automation, so that doesn't have to be a manual process like it was back in the day. So, we have automation to do all of that, but you need good quality data for AI to work, because you have to feed it something.
Just had that conversation this morning with an owner of a recruitment company. I can't get them to put the data in. And to do it, and we know rubbish in, rubbish out, right? Yeah.
And and as I say, it's not as difficult as it used to be, because even a lot of them have dictation tools with AI to to help summarize, or there is a lot of automation and coding and so on that can help. But the other two things to keep an eye out for is that a lot of particularly the analytics, the AI for data, AI, that generative AI was actually built for words. It wasn't really built for data. So just keep an eye out in this early stage of miscalculations or misinterpretations and that kind of thing. So be mindful, and then obviously be mindful of the model bias. So all AI is trained on a data set or data sets. So you just need to be careful of what you're feeding into it, depending on what you're getting out. But I have some little tips and tricks for people to go and have a play around with some of the tools. So the most accessible AI for analysis is in Excel that everybody has. And there is a little tab called Analyze My Data. And it's just there, and it's free, and a lot of people don't realize. So it's in your analysis tool pack on Excel, but it's not an extra cost. So by all means, have a look at that. The other thing that's brand new, that's coming in and it's blowing my mind over the past couple of weeks, is Copilot from Microsoft. And Copilot is going to be in Excel. It's going to be PowerPoint, Power BI. And you can actually ask natural language questions. So you can put in the question, what are my outliers on my fee percentage? And it will give it back to you. So that's all really cool. In terms of ChatGPT then, so the regular ChatGPT, the free one, doesn't analyze actual data. You can't upload or import, but it can guide you through creating a formula. So if you say, here's what I want to create a formula for in Excel, you say what you want to do, and it will give you the formula back. I did one the other day, and I walked through creating a pivot table. ChatGPT talked me through it, so that was good. And then I actually got a bit more complicated, and I asked it to talk me through a logistic regression. So it did that for me as well. So so ChatGPT as a tutor, all things data analysis, is really helpful. The ChatGPT 4, so the new one, the paid one, does have an advanced analytics module. So it's in beta testing at the moment, but it's super. So you can import your data and then just ask it questions and ask it to develop charts and trends and everything. I believe it works off Python coding. So that's in there for you to have a look at. It also can do, I saw somebody the other day dropping in a Google Analytics data into that advanced analytics. So the practical example from a recruitment perspective is they were saying, here's my website data. Here are all the blogs that I've written. Tell me what the most popular blogs are. And then tell me what are the most popular blogs for organic search and what are the most popular for social media. And then recommend 5 more of each.
This is going to make our lives so much easier, isn't it? I can see the other ladies want to get in on this. So just pick up there.
So there's a few things for you to try out, but I will say my big watch out is, this is all brand new. Be mindful of your privacy policy. So if it's your company privacy policy, your client privacy policy, if you put anything into ChatGPT, you can't take it out again. And it might be, we don't know, but it might be using your data to train its future models. So a big watch out just on the privacy side of things as well.
Yeah, so any identifiers, obviously not a great idea, but
exactly.
And we've got the conference happening at Bletchley Park, haven't we? Yeah, that's going on this week. So that's amazing that we've got it here. Marie, what did you want to add?
I was just going to touch on the security side of things, because I think the AI Summit at the moment, I've been sort of listening to a few podcasts about that, and I'll be honest, I find it terrifying where AI can go. But I think being mindful of the data that you put in and the security inside of things, because like you say, once it's in, and people can utilize that data and stuff, and that's not where you want to be, I don't think. But so we use ChatGPT here, but obviously client data and things like that, it's like, that's a massive no.
But your blog one, I love that, because you want everyone to get to hear about that, don't you? So yeah, we have to do that. Sarah?
Yeah, well, actually, talking about the blog one, before I go on to what I was going to comment on, was that I wrote a blog that I sent out to my email list earlier this week, and then I just put it in, because I've not used ChatGPT, and I don't, I'm a bit of a sort of like, I want to keep using this brain. I don't want to keep on referring to something else. But I just asked it to do a synopsis and give me some hashtags. It's like, oh my God, how quickly it was. It was scary. But my point was, I heard on the radio this morning that Elon Musk said that, essentially it can practically wipe out jobs. So, from a recruitment perspective, thinking about using AI, it's suddenly going to be AI talking to AI to create opportunities for AI, and then we'll just be out sitting there reading a book and wondering what next.
There's always the next new thing that's going to wipe out recruitment. It's not managed it yet, and from all the discussions we've had this year, it's been more about the fact that it's going to take away all of those administrative, repetitive tasks, putting the stuff in the CRM and everything. So hopefully everything will get better. Recruitment's still about relationships, still about people, and it certainly will be for the next 10 to 15 years. So let's make sure that we're still here after that as well. Thank you, ladies. We've got 4 or 5 minutes left. So Sarah, this is your one, and we probably all have something to add into this as well. When is the best time, and also how much time should I allocate to training or coaching during each week? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because actually it's quite subjective, and it's all down to who you're training, what team, what sector, whether you're bringing somebody new on board or you're talking about existing staff. But, I think it's important to really value your staff. We've been talking about staff values, haven't we? Or, and sort of really supporting and listening and hearing. And I think if you integrate that into your week generally, you can bring that in. But actually, if you're talking about sort of training, for example, if you're bringing somebody new into the business, let's say you're bringing somebody new into the recruitment business, I think it's important that you spend an hour or so every day bringing somebody who's new into and spend time with them, showing them the ropes and taking them down a little bit and letting them get on with it. But as I say, it's all down to what you're looking to achieve, what you want, and what you're trying to get out of people. But I think there's nothing quite like having that investment in training, whether you're doing it directly or you're sending somebody, or you're bringing somebody in, or you're going out. Because I remember in my days in recruitment, when I was employed, particularly by Kelly Services back in the 90s, I used to love the training that they sent us on. I used to go to London. You used to get to meet other people. You used to get to speak to other people from other branches. And, that's very empowering, because you don't feel alone if you're just in a branch and you haven't got anybody else to communicate with. And you're having conversations. And if you're in a group with other people from other organisations, you're spreading your networking at the same time. So there's value to training, whether, you don't want to micromanage somebody and train them and sit there expecting them to do the job. But I think from a coaching perspective, if you have that ongoing coaching and you're chatting and you're speaking to somebody and motivating them every day, you could do that for like 5 or 10 minutes a day and have, how you're getting on, or you're doing that, that's brilliant. And that's a real coaching aspect. But actually, if you're doing that training and you want to get somebody to understand, you've got systems, we're talking about AI, there's a lot of that to be brought in. It could be that half an hour a day is allocated, half an hour a week. It's down to the business, isn't it? It's every situation, every scenario is different. And I think you have to weigh it up and assess it individually.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree with you. And certainly someone new, that they're going to be training at least half of their day every day for the first few weeks or so. Ongoing, just to share what we do, and it'd be lovely to know from your companies as well. We aim to have 2 hours a week dedicated to learning something new. So usually each week, Wednesday afternoon, we do 2 hours together. I know a lot of companies will do like 20 minutes a day, like you said, or half an hour a day that's focused to it. But I know a lot of recruitment people will be going, I haven't got time for that. But it's about putting it into practice straight away when you're doing those type of things, because you're going to get better at what you do. You're going to get that time back on whatever that you're learning. If it's AI at the moment and you want to find more of that, well, yeah, straight away you saw how quickly that it can help you and support you, and it can make a big difference. Let's just bring everyone back on. So Tracey and Marie, it's playing around with me today, isn't it? What, from your business point of view, what would be your recommendation of training or coaching? So again, depends on the level, depends what they need, but what would be a good thing that you think that people should be focused on?
I can jump in. My key thing at the moment is data literacy. I already mentioned it earlier, but I think a lot of people don't, they see data and they see charts, but they don't actually know what to do with it, and people get overwhelmed and then they just back away from it. So I think it's just thinking about, from a training perspective, thinking about data literacy, upskilling on it, and understanding then, what are the key data points to help you run your business. So in terms of how many hours a week that you should dedicate to that, I'm not sure, but I know that there's sort of a lot of options around there, out there for different kind of upskilling and so on. And some of it is actually, I know in Ireland particularly, there are what they call skills nets. So we have a recruitment skill net here that partially funds training for anything coming up in recruitment. So I'm sure there's something similar in the UK as well.
But I think
we're not.
I was just going to say with what Tracey was saying, the discussion points about that, because I don't think, certainly from my experience in working recruitment, yes, you can get hammered with, well, we want you to do this, that, and the other, because that brings a conversion. But actually, if you understand and you talk daily about the figures, then it becomes, because it's repetitive, isn't it? And it's that consistent sort of discussion about it. It's a subliminal level of training that you could be bringing in anyway.
Yeah, definitely helpful. Marie, what about your company?
Yeah, I was going to go down the financial route, as you'd expect. But yeah, I think training around the numbers, understanding the KPI, and the thing is some of the recruitment businesses that we've started working with, they just have analysis paralysis sometimes. They just look at absolutely everything, whereas just understanding what the key things to look at, what the impacts they're going to have on the business. And I also wanted to touch base actually on what that Tracey mentioned earlier, was we've seen quite a lot where top bidders get moved into managerial roles as well, which it's a massive no-go. It depends on the training they get with that, but we've seen that happen many times and it's failed. So again, that managerial, depending on which level they are in the company and where they are in their career. But I would say that manager training as well is a big one that gets missed by quite a lot of recruitment businesses.
It is, and it can ruin a great relationship that a really senior person or senior consultant that's doing really well can not destroy them, but sometimes it does, unfortunately. And they end up leaving the business when they were great at what they did. And it could have been just training and development that was needed. It might be they're just not right for that position, and maybe give them a trial. Yeah. So there should always be a probation period, shouldn't there, with every new role, and allow them to go back to what they were doing or something slightly different, so that you don't lose them out of the business. We'll get those links in. Sarah, your course for manifesting.
Thank you very much.
Job. Yes. Our leadership management program as well, because again, yeah, if you're in that situation, then we're here to help, because that's what we do.
I think it's really interesting what you just said. Sorry, just to nip in on the end, but I stayed within recruitment within a consultant level. There's a bit of a story, but I knew and observed that I didn't really want to leave at that time doing the job, because that's the problem when you get into, as you were just saying about a big biller and retention. I never really wanted to go and lose the job that I was enjoying doing, and people get pushed into that position because they think the development is taking that next level is a management role, but actually they're not managers, which is what you're just saying. And it's just like, well, don't do a management role, but are there other positions, like Marie was saying, about these different layers that you can put into a business, that you can create opportunities for your top billers, but doesn't necessarily mean to say it's management.
I think that's a good point to finish on, because yeah, everyone should be thinking about that. Let's find the jobs that are right for the people. Let's create them, and we can do that in the recruitment industry. So why don't we take advantage of that? Thank you, ladies. Been fantastic. I've learned lots on that one, and I've got to go back through it and get those links. There was like so much in there that I want to grab. So you'll probably be seeing posts next week talking about different topics and little videos from yours, because that was fantastic. Thank you, everyone that's joined us on all the different platforms that are there as well. We'll be back in 2 more weeks on Ask the Coach. Next week on the Daily Workout, we've got Rebecca Shannon, how to be your own best coach. So actually, if you're into coaching, then that's perfect for you as well. We'll see you then. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.